All right, cool. So, yeah, welcome everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Sevve Stember. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about mental training for climbers. So, yeah, that's what today's all about. Kind of like a little smaller group. So feel free to ask questions throughout. Can be like more of a conversation, less of a presentation. So, yeah. Skip over that. Yeah, if you want to, get in touch with me, this is my contact information. Follow up with any questions you may have. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about myself before we go into the whole mental training thing. Sevve Stember, born and raised in northern Minnesota. That's my mom and I in the upper left-hand corner there. I've got two sisters, Bryn and Mariah, and then my dad down here in the middle. My dad, Larry. Yeah, I grew up in northern Minnesota, loved to Nordic ski. Basically love to do anything outdoors. There's a picture of me in the upper right-hand corner, backcountry skiing in Rocky Mountain National Park, and actually that's also in Rocky Mountain National Park trail running. Yeah, let's see. I guess like formally trained as an educator. I taught math and science for many years in the public school system. This picture down in the lower right-hand corner is me and a soccer team that I coached at DSST Cole. So that was really meaningful to work with just work in the public school system for so many years. Currently, I work as an instructional designer, so still an educator. One day, I'd like to do the mental training and just be in the climbing industry, maybe like more full time. But for right now, I've got kind of like my foot in both worlds, the climbing world and also the working as an instructional designer. Yeah, shout out to Midwest Mountaineering. Adon Torres is on the call. Thanks so much, Adon, for putting this on. Super cool event. If y'all haven't been, down to the store or checked them out online, make sure to do that. I think they've got like a bunch of sales and a bunch of cool vendors, and there's some live presentations down at the U of M, which I've done in the past. I've been part of the Midwest Mountaineering Outdoor Expo since like 20. I mean, literally like 10 years. Been doing this more often than not each year. So really cool event and really cool store. Check them out. Okay. Yeah, basically I'm just gonna tell you about my journey to becoming a mental trainer for climbers. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what I do and how you can get involved. So The Rock Warrior's Way, it's a book. The Rock Warrior's Way is a book by Arno Ilgner. This was actually the original book. It was published in like 2005. I first read it in 2006 when I was a park ranger living in Yosemite Valley. And basically The Rock Warrior's Way is it's a way of approaching decision making in climbing, and it's also a way of engaging with fear, right? Like climbers experience fear because our lizard brain is hardwired to be afraid in dangerous situations, right? And so even though climbers can like objectively know that maybe a fall is safe to take, there's still oftentimes these mental barriers that are encountered. And so the Rock Warriors Way is it's a schema for making decisions. And then it has also become a clinic. I teach falling and commitment clinics. So those clinics take essentially a lot of the concepts from this book, and they make them, or I make them, super concrete. And we do like specific drills that go over the technical, the proper technique for falling. And then we also talk about decision making and commitment, right? Like a lot of climbers will climb well below their ability level, even though they might be able to climb, let's say 12A. They might have only ever climbed without falling or sent a like 11B or something like that. So these performance plateaus and performance barriers are super common in the sport. And again, it's the Rock Warriors Way is a way of engaging with fear and kind of like not being a victim to it, but rather being able to work with it. So yeah, just kind of briefly, my journey to becoming a Warriors Way trainer. Like again, I read the book in 2006. I was living and working in Yosemite Valley, like right, Yosemite National Park. And I was working as a park ranger intern. And I read the book, and it really informed a lot of how I approach decision making. You know, I was kind of on like a steep trajectory in terms of like, I mean, I'd only climbed since 2004, maybe. Yeah, that's about right. Maybe I learned in like 2004, 2005. And so it was really helpful to have something concrete to help me make risk assessments. Yeah, that summer, you know, I climbed a lot of long routes in the valley. And yeah, like, you know, sometimes I would fall and I was able to integrate the concepts so that I was able to, you know, fall within my comfort zone. So anyway, fast forward like 14 years or something like that. Anyway, 2 years ago, I emailed Arno Ilgner and I was just like, hey, you know, we didn't know each other or anything like that. And I said, hey, I'd love to, you know, become a trainer. What do you think? So yeah, we started to develop a relationship. You know, he went through a vetting process just to know what my qualifications are and how well I climbed and, you know, things like that. And yeah, we actually had the opportunity to climb together that fall. This is Arno and I in El Dorado Canyon. We're on the wind tower, on top of the wind tower after climbing a route. And yeah, it's been really fun to, you know, get to work with him professionally, you know, and also call him a friend and mentor. So yeah, again, Arno, you know, recognized a long time ago the need for mental training. And I think I kind of experienced the climbing community as being super obsessed with the physical, you know, and really American society, right? We're super obsessed with youth, beauty, and strength. At least that's my experience of American society. And so, you know, with the climbing is similar. And my belief is that the climbing community has overemphasized physical training and underemphasized mental training. So anyway, again, Arno recognized that there was a need for mental training in the climbing world and developed a specific clinic to help climbers learn to be less afraid of falling. And these are two pictures from those clinics. So anyway, one of the things, Arno, one of the things I had to do is develop a relationship with a guiding service, because I offer outdoor clinics here in Colorado. And, as I expand my clinic offerings and expand the business, I'm hoping to, offer clinics in Minnesota. I've already got a permit for Barn Bluff, so, or Red Wing as it's known more commonly. So definitely something I'll look to offer in Minnesota in the future. But anyway, I developed a relationship with Denver Mountain Guides. This is Kevin Capps down here in the lower left-hand corner. He's the owner. I actually met him on the Diamond of Colorado, the Diamond of Long's Peak, that is, when I climbed it in 2000, gosh, that was a long time ago, like 2014 maybe, with my friend Dan Brazel, who is a Minnesota, kind of a staple in the Minnesota climbing world. So anyway, I got squared away with the guide service, Denver Mountain Guides, and that's who I offer clinics through today. I also took the free mind training, and that's separate from the falling and commitment clinics. And the free mind training consisted of weekly calls for 6 months, and that helped me expand my skill set as a trainer. It's awareness based. It's based on mental flexibility, not toughness, and it has really eclectic material. During the free mind training, I set some specific goals to climb a new grade. I had never climbed 13B. And then this year I've been able to climb 2. So not only like working with clients, but also in my own personal climbing, I've found just the material to be really impactful and empowering. So yeah, the free mind training talks a lot about body awareness. So as climbers, we want to have a lot of body awareness, but not just as climbers, right? In our everyday lives, we want to know how we're feeling in our bodies, because that helps deepen our experiences. And same thing when we're on the rock, we want to be able to really know what our body's experiencing, because it helps us climb better. One of the things that was taught in the free mind training, and again, I'm just going through the steps I took to become a trainer. We talked about this notion of good, bad, and the drill is to not use the words good or bad to describe your experience. So I'd encourage each of you to catch, like tomorrow maybe, each time you say good or bad, catch yourself and see if you can come up with a different word for it. And the reason this drill matters is these words aren't very descriptive. Like in the climbing world, you might say, oh, there's a good crimp at bolt 4 and you can rest there. Well, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean much, right? You could say there's a 2-pad crimp, right? That says a lot more to me, right? I have these 1-2 digits on the rock. Or you might say there's a bad sloper. And so what our minds does is judge. As climbers, we judge holds as good or bad, and we sort them. And that is, good would be a comfortable hold, bad would be a uncomfortable hold. And that can be problematic because it takes away an opportunity for us to learn and engage with what's in front of us. It's much more useful to say, oh, the left-hand sloper has a little thumb catch on it, and you only get you only get 3 fingers on. rather than just calling it bad. So this drill is relevant in both climbing and your everyday life. So try to catch yourself using good and bad language. Yeah, the 1, 2, 3 drill, again, relevant for both climbing and everyday life. So acceptance is the first step, defenselessness the second step, and tough love the third step. So like if I'm climbing and I was having, let's say I'm trying to climb my first 13C, which is a goal that I have, just in the next year or two. So let's say I'm really struggling at the crux or the hard part of the route. The first step is to, accept the situation. So observe what's going on and not try to change the situation. Like, oh, I can't do the sequence between bolt 4 and 5. That would be an example of acceptance. And then defenselessness, offering compassion to myself, like, oh, that's okay, Sevve. This is the hardest route you've ever tried. Or that's okay, Sevve. You're just learning the route. And not to be like not to sound trite, like none of this is meant to be trite. It's just like literally offering ourselves compassion. And the last step is tough love, like being like, okay, I'm going to take a small step, and maybe I can't do the whole sequence between bolt 4 and 5. Maybe I can do, maybe I'm just going to focus on 3 hand movements, or even 1 hand movement. In other words, the smallest step towards the unmet need. In this case, climbing between bolt 4 and 5. The flip side is this also works in like real life. If the next time you're frustrated or angry, again, you can apply this drill, acceptance, defenselessness, and tough love. Okay, cool. The other thing that is taught in the falling and commitment clinic is breathing, eyes, body. And I'll actually talk more about that later, but basically when you're falling, the proper technique to use is breathing, eyes, body. So we exhale so that our muscles are relaxed, not tight. Right? If you hold your breath, you're going to have tight muscles and you're more prone to injury. Your eyes want to look down as you're falling, and your body is active with bent knees and bent elbows. So that's like the proper falling technique, which I learned about. Yeah, and this is me, Laura Arno, and I on a call as I'm preparing to be a trainer. I also am certified as an American Mountain Guides AMGA, in other words, single pitch instructor. So I've been formally trained through the AMGA. This is during our AMGA course in Clear Creek Canyon. And then, of course, proper medical training is super important as a guide. And I have my WFA, my wilderness first aid through Knowles. Okay. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about how I've been able to integrate this material in my personal climbing. And then we'll end with what some of these clinics actually look like, because that's the main thing that I offer right now as a mental training coach is falling and commitment gym clinics and outdoor clinics. And we'll end kind of going into detail about that. Okay, so some of the ways I've been able to integrate this material in my own personal life is climbing right? Climbing at or near my limit. This is up in the Flatirons. It's one of my favorite places to climb in Colorado. As you can see, it very much so feels like a wilderness setting. You're tucked kind of far away from Boulder, from anyone. It's a pretty special spot. Anyway, this is on a route called Ouroboros that I did not this summer, but 2 summers ago. So I guess that was 2020. And I was able to use body awareness at the very top of the route. This is like a 40-meter route. And I was close to sending the route one day, and I fell on like the 39th meter, right? So I was really close to doing the route, and fell. And so what I realized is that I was kind of in this fight or flight mode. And so rather than really, like, again, feeling and experiencing the climbing holds in my hand, I was in kind of a heightened state, kind of like an anxious state, and I lacked body awareness. And so I came back like a week later and did the route again, because, right, as climbers, our goal is to climb the route without falling. And instead of getting anxious this time, I was able to just like breathe right before the crux. That's the hard part. That's what crux means. And I reminded myself to just be present through the hard part. And so I have a vivid memory of being like mid crux, or again, that's the hard part, and just reminding myself, like, okay, really feel the holds in your hand. And it helped me climb through that sequence efficiently, and I was able to do the route successfully. Another story is, or this is another example of applying the content in my own personal climbing. This is a route called Savage and Beautiful Country. It's in southwestern Colorado at a cliff called God's Crag, kind of near like Durango, I guess, Durango Telluride area. Anyway, I had tried, and it goes up this black streak. It's like this beautiful black streak here. I had fallen on the route like 2 or 3 times, and it was like late in the day on a Sunday, and I was feeling the pressure of doing the route. And several of my friends had already climbed the route successfully, which automatically is like, oh man, everyone else has done it. I really want to do it. And I could tell I was, there was a lot of pressure on myself, and I was feeling kind of anxious. So I went into the woods, and I just sat down and closed my eyes and reminded, I went through acceptance, defenselessness, tough love. And I just accepted that I was feeling, like really anxious. I offered myself compassion and just reminded myself that, like, it's okay, whatever happens. I love you, even if you don't send the route. And then tough love, right? I went out and I tried the route. And I was able to do it, right? So, it's an important thing to do in both climbing and your everyday life. Okay, this is another spot in Colorado called Independence Pass. And one of my favorite styles of climbing is on-site or flash climbing, meaning that you've never tried the route. You only have the one try to on-site it, and that means to do the route first try without falling, without any information of the route. And so on this particular route, one of the concepts I teach in my clinics is about commitment. And the key here is that when we are resting, we want to rest, and when we're climbing, we want to climb. We don't want to blend the two. A lot of climbers are held back by their thoughts, right? And so while they're climbing, they'll let thoughts impact the way that they're moving their body. So instead of doing that, what we want to do is at a rest, make a risk decision and say, okay, this is a yes fall based on my falling experience. I've analyzed the distance, angle, obstacle of the fall, and I'm going to climb from here up to, let's say, this little black streak without stopping or without letting fear get in the way. And I've found that practice to be really useful in my personal climbing because I'm more of an analytical climber. So I would very frequently let thought get in the way of my movement. And again, we want to do one or the other. We want to think or we want to climb, but we don't want to blend the two. Yeah, similar thing on this route. This is at a route in Lander, Wyoming, called Enter the Dragon. And yeah, I was able to kind of implement that same commitment practice that I was just talking about. Okay, so now we'll kind of pivot to what opportunities exist for climbers to help them engage with fear. So basically, right now there is falling and commitment clinics at gyms. I know there's a couple in Minnesota, right? Vertical Endeavors, and I do offer a bouldering clinic as well, because boulders fall also. So yeah, and then again, there's outdoor clinics. So anyway, you might be wondering, what is a falling and commitment clinic? So a gym clinic is 4 hours, an outdoor clinic is 8 hours, and each of the clinics go through this progression. So, you know, we do some introductions and get to know one another, and then we dive immediately into the falling block. And there's 2 drills or 2 increments that we do in the falling block. The first one is pushing off the wall, and we practice impacting the wall with bent knees and bent elbows. Then we progress up to top rope falls, you know, just taking one step up at a time. And then we do more realistic lead falls. You know, we will frequently have people falling with the bolt at their, you know, waist or knees, or maybe even their feet. So in the falling block, we go over the technique for how to fall properly. Ooh. And then we also do a commitment drill, and or a commitment block, and there's 3 drills within the commitment block. I won't explain those, but there's 3 specific drills. And then we talk about the technique for resting, and then we talk about decision making. And then the last thing climbers do is they choose a climb that is at or near their limit. So let's say 510 plus is the hardest route you've ever climbed. Maybe you would try an 11A or a 10 plus for your application climb. And the idea there is we want to apply everything we've learned in the clinic in a realistic setting. I went down to Joshua Tree National Park on my teaching tour this April, and I worked closely with Laura Sabin. Some of you maybe have seen the recent Patagonia video. I think it's called They Them, and that highlights you know, Laura's journey just in the climbing world. But anyway, Laura's also a Warriors Way trainer and super awesome human. Okay, so yeah, gym clinics, outdoor sport clinics, and then also trad clinics. And when we're in the trad clinic, we do fall on trad gear, and this is that. There is a backup top rope in the trad clinic, just because yeah, a little more risk placing your own gear. But anyway, similar concepts taught in both. All right. Here's one of the falling drills in the trad clinic. Yeah, that was really nice. Cool. So in that drill, you can, you know, hopefully start to visualize what I'm talking about. So this is the situation where you would apply breathing, eyes, body. So you exhale as you're falling, your eyes pan down as you're falling, and then your body position has bent knees and bent elbows. So let's watch the video one more time, and you can like, look for those pieces of technique. This particular client was like, it's interesting, right? There's the gym generation right now, teenagers, 8-year-olds, etc., right? Very young human beings that are learning to climb. And then we also have, right, people that have climbed, people that learned to climb in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And so this particular woman, learned to climb a long time ago. And at some point, not even that long ago, the ethic was to not fall because climbing technology and climbing gear hadn't evolved as well. And again, that was just the ethic. And so she was really sort of addressing or taking on this belief that she could never fall. And she was wanting to essentially just improve as a climber and recognize that this belief that she could never fall was limiting her potential. So that was why she ended up in the clinic. And yeah, it's definitely common in like older climbers, or climbers that have been climbing a long time, is that they'll be sort of confronted with that belief that they can never fall. Here's one more. Oh, that's not actually one more. Let me click. Okay, here's a different drill. This is the impact drill. You just push off the wall, swinging side to side, practicing impacting the wall with bent knees and bent elbows. So these drills might look like, wow, that actually looks pretty reasonable, and they should. We want to approach, we want to work with our fear in a very careful and incremental way. We don't want to traumatize ourselves or go too far into the stress or panic zone. We want to be in the comfort zone and then just take like one step into the stress zone. And that's why these drills may look like, oh, that was a short fall, because we're really thoughtful about how we engage with fear, again, so that we can convert stress to comfort. Okay, one more. Yeah, nice. Oh. Okay, so let's see. Let me show one more video. This one's a little longer. I think it's like maybe 4 minutes. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, this one's like 5 minutes. I'll kind of interject throughout. Here's a sport clinic in Clear Creek Canyon. This was really fun. This was a group of people from Israel that I got to work with. So that's an example of one of the drills that you'd work on. So again, pay attention to their technique when they're falling, looking at their body position, bent knees and bent elbows. So that one was really, that was his best one, right? Watch here. He's actually able to push off the wall. So his body position is really active. He's got bent knees and bent elbows. And he pushes off the wall really nicely at the end.
Really nice, Alex.
So here's like some application climbs. Is testing your, in other words, testing your climbing or testing what you've learned in the clinic.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Keep breathing. Yeah, go.
Another application climb. So we want to be able to apply what we've learned in a realistic setting. And that's the whole point of the application climb. All right, and this is the trad clinic in Joshua Tree. We've already seen some of this, so I'll just skip ahead. And then gym clinics. There's gym clinics available as well. Same thing, using breathing eyes body when you're falling. Cool. So yeah, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what some of the drills look like. And there's more drills that you didn't see there. But yeah, in terms of getting involved in mental training, you know, I've talked about the gym clinics. I also offer remote one-on-one coaching, specifically around falling and commitment. So what that would look like is, you know, meeting weekly or every other week. We would do a needs analysis to hear, you know, essentially like where you're at and what your goals are. There's video analysis of falling technique, and then an online journal where we communicate back and forth so that you can answer questions and also process your learning. So yeah, the remote one-on-one option is a really great way to, you know, if you don't live in Colorado, or if you're unable to make some of the clinics in Minnesota, it's a good way of, you know, progressing in mental training. And so yeah, those are the main ways of getting involved. There's also the free mind training, which you can learn more about on the Warriors Way website. I'm not currently teaching that, although in the future hope to. And then there's also some online courses on red pointing and falling. We've already talked about this, but yeah, falling and commitment clinics, gym, sport, trad, and bouldering are all things that that I do offer. And again, I'm hoping to teach a clinic at Red Wing in 2022. So stay tuned for that as well. That's all I have, but I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, any questions that y'all have? You can come off mute and ask him if you have them, or put them in the chat.
Hey, Sevve, I got a question.
Yeah.
With regard to sort of learning how to fall safely, and sort of, I guess, practicing that over time in a controlled setting with good support system. Are there any sort of common, and I know it's going to be a different experience for everyone based on either some prior experience or maybe no experience.
Yep.
But is there any sort of common, what's the word I want to use? Any sort of common traits that come up that you're aware of that can sort of that people overcome? Is it a general sense of fear, or is it more of an equipment trusting of the equipment, or is it?
Yeah, that's a cool question, Adon. Yeah, let's see. I mean, I would say there's one thing I experience a lot is there's just sort of a globalized lack of trust. And I don't even, I think there's almost too many variables for climbers to they don't, sometimes I don't think they're aware of if they're afraid of the gear, or a lot of it is like the belayer has a huge job, right? Which is to catch the climber with not too much slack out, not too little slack, and to give a cushioned catch. So I think it's like they don't know how to coach their belayer necessarily. They don't trust themselves to make appropriate risk decisions based on their own experience. And that's what we have to do is each of us have to make risk decisions that are appropriate for us. So what I'm comfortable with might be different than what you're comfortable with, etc. So I think it's like multi-layered. They don't know how to break down each of those things into understandable, concrete chunks. And so it's almost like they're just too overwhelmed. They're like, I don't know what to do because I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's yeah, because I think that, at least for me personally, I have had some climbing experience and hope to have many more experiences climbing. There's a point at which where I reach a certain height where I'm like, okay, this is kind of my fight or flight is starting to kick in. And, I tend to, at least for myself, I feel like I tend to be a bit more, less scared of the fall, but more scared of going up higher.
Yep.
And that limits me a little bit in that growth and maybe reaching that crux, that hard point. Sometimes I'm aware of where the crux is just through beta that's shared, or maybe that's a route that I've done that I haven't been able to complete. But that's just something that I've noticed in myself in climbing, and that like I get to this point where I'm like, okay, like I'm like, I'm good here, but I know I want to keep pushing myself. And you can hear your friends down below pushing you and offering support. I tend to find myself less concerned about the fall, and more of just like, okay, how much further can I push myself to go? So just
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that's actually also super common where and what you're speaking about, right, is there's like some resistance there to committing to, let's say you get 50 feet up and you're like, I don't know if I want to go to the 60th foot, right? So and that's super common for climbers to find a point where they lack commitment. So that's where the commitment drills come in, where it's like, let's say you're at that spot where you feel comfortable, and then you can analyze if it's an appropriate fall, and if the answer is yes, then you can keep climbing, even though it's uncomfortable for you to keep going up, because you've analyzed the fall consequence and you've decided it's appropriate. So as you're climbing, you can be like, and doubt starts to creep in, you can be like, oh, no, I'm gonna keep climbing because I've already made this risk assessment.
Yeah. I have another question.
Sure.
So my son has he and I climb fairly regularly, maybe a few times a month, indoor bouldering, etc. And he's 5. He's doing great and really likes it. I'm wondering if there's any sort of language that may be appropriate to share with him on how to learn how to fall. Mostly, I tie on a little tail. He's mostly doing auto belay, which is a much gradual, slower approach to a fall. But I know we're going to transition into top roping sport at some point. I see that happening. So I'm just wondering about how to sort of better prepare myself, perhaps, and so that I can better prepare him.
Yeah, that's a super cool question also. Yeah, that is a good one. I think a couple of things. I think, I mean, I guess on the concrete level, you can teach that falling technique that I was speaking to. And that's outlined in this book, or maybe espresso lessons. So you could work with him on bent knees and bent elbows. That'd be like some language you could use. You could encourage him to make sure he exhales or maybe growls as he falls. You can make it playful, like, and when I breathe out when I'm falling, it's like it's not just like an exhale, it's like a guttural thing that I do. And then so I guess that would be more on like the technical side of things. And then I think the other thing is just like when fear does come up in your boy, like honoring it and being like, that's okay, I get afraid too. And then encouraging him to go engage with it and maybe learn that it wasn't so, like, hey, do you want to try that again? You can go even one step below and then you can practice a fall there.
That's a great idea.
Because then what you're doing and what mental training is all about is it's about empowering ourselves and one another to have fun and to experience climbing in a different way. It's not fun to be debilitated by fear. It's empowering to learn how to deal with it.
It's a great answer. Thank you. I think that'll be, definitely a bit of a learning curve for myself to just kind of figure out how to communicate with him, figure out what type of language works between us in that particular scenario. On the one end, he's very comfortable throwing himself all over the floor all day long.
Right.
And on the other end, he's, I don't see that fear quite yet, but I anticipate it. I'm hoping to anticipate it so that I can help him work through that as much as I'm capable, or he'll allow me as well. So cool. Thank you. I appreciate your answers.
Yeah, totally.
We're just about coming up on an hour here. And I want to thank you so much for this awesome presentation. We are recording this and will be posted to our Midwest Mountaineering YouTube channel. There you can find lots of other presentations from expos past. Tomorrow we have lots, sort of the bulk of the presentations in through Sunday. A lot of diversity as far as discipline, backgrounds, people, and it's currently, I think, probably my favorite lineup. So I really appreciate you being a part of it. And I know that you and I've worked together at least for a couple years now with regard to Expo, and really value what you bring to the show. So thank you, Sevve.
Yeah, no, appreciate the words, Adon. It's an honor to be part of it, and look forward to the next one.
All right. And hi, Sevve's parents. I can see you there. If you're ever in the shop, say hello. I usually live here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for adapting to the times. Thank you.
Yeah, that's an interesting component that we've have had to, like you said, adapt and tweak and change. And I anticipate Zoom or virtual clinics to be a part of the expos as long as possible, because sometimes it's hard to get to Minneapolis, and it's a wonderful way for us to sort of build that digital bridge and connect people, which is what the main mission is here at the store. So thank you, everyone. And if there's any other questions, I think we could probably close her on out. All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Sevve. I'll be
Thank
in
you.
touch. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
That
everyone.
sounds great. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.